Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Bagger Don at Stock Market Caddy, and you are watching Swing Machine Plus, and we are running a particular program running 5 MNQs. It's been running all night, and it hasn't been a single trade, and that's okay. It's not going to trade real fast, but it's going to trade 5 micros when it gets going. One way or the other, we'll try to periodically give you an update. We punch up like this the middle part of the day, a few times a week to give everyone some visibility on who we are, what we're about, trading the markets. You're more than welcome to visit our. Oh, there we go. And we got the first trade just as we speak. So that's nice. And we'll let you watch. That's 5 micros, and they are short. So and Swing Machine looks to be selling down too, so I'm very comfortable with the look on that. And we'll keep you posted. Any questions, let us know. Enjoy. Hey Charlie, that's a great question. No, we don't have a program that we can watch the feed all day, every day, or an option for that. And there's a reason for that. But let me just say this: if you're a new monthly member, if you choose to join as a monthly member, we give everyone the opportunity to get a view for a one full day. So what'll happen is if you become a monthly member, you let us know when you have an available moment or an available day. We'll give you a private Zoom link. We'll give you a tour of a lot of our products that we have available, and then you can watch the rest of that one day. As far as having access, the reason why we don't is a couple of reasons. Um, One, YouTube. Well, we could do it privately, right? We'd not do it through YouTube. We could, but this is just one tool. Swing Machine is one tool to trade, and more valuable than any one singular tool is learning how to trade, the mechanics of it. So if we were to do that, people would get the wrong idea. They would think, oh, I'm going to just follow and I'm going to start buying and selling, selling and buying, and that would just open up a can of worms, quite frankly. So folks have to make a decision, and that decision is, do I want to learn to trade mechanically and algorithmically? If they don't, that's fine. If they do, we're available for them. But if a person is just going from place to place and just wants to throw mad money around, that's not us. So probably not the answer you wanted to hear, but that's been very well thought out and why we structure it the way that we do. Thanks, though. And by the way, we've been told that we would make much more money, we would have many more members, and yada yada. But that's not why we do it, right? We're a mentoring service. We're trying to teach people how to do this and trade as a business for themselves over the long term. That's the business model. It isn't one of trying to have 100,000, subscribers, doing that sort of thing. That's what everyone else is doing. That's not what we're doing. So kind of, hopefully, it sets us apart in a positive way. Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. It's been asked many times, right? And the truth of the matter is that you say we spend it during Q school, we spend probably 1 to 2 days just explaining how to trade Swing Machine. 1 to 2 days, of the sessions, 1 to 2 full sessions, and then during the Q school, you actually get the tools on your desktop to try to apply what you've learned on not just Swing Machine, but on other tools as well. Much more valuable than subscribing, because everyone else has got that type of service, right? We're sometimes asked like, well, how come you don't give us an alert service? If you become an annual member and you want to be trading, real actively, you can take these tools and build your own alerts. And you understand where they're coming from and how to do it, and you build them yourself. But just, throwing out alerts or throwing out stuff, that's just not what we do. So but thank you. I get it, but so hope that helps. Good afternoon, everyone. This program that we've been running has been running since last night, and it had no trades, had none. Um, I use your system as a confluence when taking my own trades. Yeah, I think that's a good way to go, Charlie. I mean, or I don't know what your system is, but totally okay with that sort of thing. We have a multitude, right? We have close to, which is what I'm doing now. So, Rob, if you're listening, we're building out. Rob just completed his Q school and has decided to become an annual member. So we are in the process of building out our files for Rob personally, and but we encourage people to do that, right? We have close to 65 to 70 various tools, and sure, you can use them as simple as you want. You can mix and match. You can augment what you're doing. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you just look here, so this program, this is the very first trade, right? And I could choose just to kill it, right, and come back tomorrow, and we make $200-300 a day, $200-300 a day. One account, 5 micros, it'd be totally fine. But we're going to stick around. It's still earlier in the week. But when you look at Swing Machine here, the 5 minute VIX goes long at 925. 925. So our members know what that means. That the markets very well might be turning down. This is on an intraday basis. So let's just look at the 5 minute ES. At 930, it goes short. If you did take it short for a swing machine, which can be programmed, you're up 450. The NQ didn't go short until 1125. The 1 minute, if you were trading the 1 minute, you wanted to, if you went short at 1056, you're up 1500. So that sort of thing. But the markets are turning down as we speak, but the program that's running over here, or this note, it's running on an alternate screen. It isn't trading Swing Machine. It's doing something else, and we're happy to tell our members, when they reach out, what that something else is and what we're up to. But in the meantime, stay patient, stay disciplined, stay curious. We're not narrative traders though, right? I mean, we're aware of the narratives, the story of the day, inflation, deflation, and all that because we're around it. But we're not trading any of that, right? We're trading algorithms, and we're writing original code for algorithms, and that's all part of what it is to be part of Stock Market Caddy. I don't know where you are, Charlie, but one of the first questions that everyone, if you want to be a monthly member, you can do that immediately, and you get a nightly video of all the algos showing what they show, and that's on stocks, ETFs, and on futures. But if you want to be trading intraday, you want to be interested in getting these tools on your desktop, and one of the prerequisites is getting having access to TradeStation because our programs will only run on TradeStation, right? And North Carolina. So yeah, so you have access to TradeStation. Every annual member's got to go through what we call a Q school just once, just once. We slow it down. We want to make sure that you want to make sure that it's the right thing, that this is what you want to do, that these are the tools. And at the end of the Q school, similar to what gentleman Rob, as our most recent annual member, has decided to do is at the end of the Q school, he's like, yeah, I want to become an annual member now, Don. And he had a chance to work with not all the tools, but many of the tools during his Q school period. And that's how we basically structure it. But this trade is off and running, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Now it was on all night, not a thing, not a single trade until just a few moments ago in front of you. So we're trying to also reduce the emotions of fear and greed, and so that you can maximize your time and maximize your capital. If you are new to trading and you're in here trying to make decisions purely off the money, I don't think I don't think you're going to be here very long. Sorry, but I just don't think so. I mean, you can be able to prove us wrong, but when you're making decisions purely off the money, right? You can be money managing, but if you're making decisions purely, it really doesn't matter. You might as well not have anything, and basically, you're making decisions off of fear and greed, and you will lose over time. It's just, and Wall Street and Madison Avenue, they bank on people doing that. And it's a hard thing to get over. You have to get over it. And it's a hard thing because as Americans, we're programmed to, chase greed and avoid fear, and and all that stuff. And they play on that, right? I don't want to quote Al Gore, remember that clown, but you know, play on your fears. I mean, that's what the markets, that's what they do, right? They play on your fears, they play on your greed. So we just don't play that game. We just track the money flow, and we're out to extract cash from the money flow. That's it. Simple as that. When you're trading futures intraday, there are a potential 24 days in a month. If you take Fridays off, they're down to 20. $100 a day would be $2,000 a month. $200 a day would be 4,000, and you can do the math from there. Right? But you want to stay in proportion to your skill level and your risk level. And this is not a game to us, right? We try to make it fun, try to approach it a little like a game, but it's not a game. Our members are very serious people, adults, all over the world, um, very successful in their own right, all kinds of experiences, C-suite, mayors. We actually have a mayor of a town, and so all different backgrounds, pilots, professional golfers, all kinds of backgrounds. We'll let you watch. Yeah, you don't have to be a golfer, to be a member. Um, but if you are a golfer, you probably makes sense to you. And also, trading, there are so many parallels to the game of golf. It's very individual, for sure. It's very quiet. The way that we trade, it's relatively quiet. You need your focus. You need to be disciplined. And the course never plays the same. It never plays the same. So if you are looking for that holy grail, that one club that's gonna, get you to, break 80 or break 70, it's probably not gonna happen, right? The clubs are important, the equipment, the instruction, and everything, but there's a skill set with learning the game of golf, and there's a skill set with learning to trade. We have wonderful tools. Don't get me wrong. We have wonderful tools, but you're going to have to practice. You're going to have to learn, and you're going to have to work at it. Um, and so, if you're going to go to the golf store, and we joke about it, but I'll take that hat, and I'll take those naked golf lady tees, right? A la Caddyshack, and you got the knickers, and you got the clubs, and you got the big bag with the stereo in it and everything else. That doesn't mean you're going to go out and play scratch golf, you know, just because you got everything. You have to work at it. And now my background was from surgery, right? So I'm not from Wall Street. I'm not from Madison Avenue, and I'm not even, my golfing skill is, it's okay. I love the game, but it's always a work in progress, right? So, but my background was in surgery, right? And so surgeons don't wing it. And when we started down this path of bringing what we've been doing to the public, we thought of a surgical comparison. Susan didn't think that would be a very good idea. She's squeamish about blood and making a comparison to surgery. So, although we didn't build it around a surgical theme, we have approached it as well with trying to trade with surgical precision. Now, this is the first trade of the day, the first trade of the week. We're currently up $400. I could stop it right here, right? And then just wait for tomorrow. Could, right? And I might, I might. I'm going to let it continue, but you could, right? At $500 a day, I'm not saying you're going to do that every day. I mean, there might be some days you make a grand. There might be some days you make 2 grand. There might be a day where you lose 500. But if you are able to net yourself on average about $500 a day, I'm not saying that somebody brand new with no trading experience, and is going to be in there, trying, is fearful and greedy and everything, is going to do that. But if you do, it's $10,000 a month. So, we're very serious about what we're doing, and we hope you are too. So we invite you to visit the website. We're going to let you continue to watch. If I do intervene, I'll let you know. I'm sorry that this thing I cropped this. Um, Maybe I should. Well, I'll fix it the next block that we do. This will be up until about 1 o'clock. Once again, if you have specific questions, if you want us to plug in any of your stocks into any of our tools, including Swing Machine or any market, and you want a real live, assessment of from Swing Machine of how he would be positioned, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know what the symbol is. Let me know what the interval is that you're looking at, and we'll do it. We'll plug it in, and you'll get a real time view. See what you want it. I can only describe this, right? If you are approaching your day, your trading day, in a haphazard fashion, you know, sometimes you trade, and a big part of trading is finding out how this fits into your life. It may not fit. It may not. We've had not many, but we've had one or two. It's like, geez, it just doesn't fit. And that's okay if it doesn't fit. Maybe it will at a later date, or maybe you do some other things. There are other ways to make money within the market. You don't have to be doing exactly what we're doing here today. You don't have to do it 8 hours. I don't think you should do it 8 hours a day, right? I put in a lot of time because I want to be, but Susan doesn't, right? This is what I love to do. I mean, I have to steal myself away to go out and play some golf and go fly fishing. A couple other habits that I like to do. I literally have to, because it's like, oh, do I golf today or do I trade? I kind of want to trade. Right? So even Susan says, like, Donnie, go play some golf. So um, I'm doing it because I really, really enjoy it. It is fun, and so I like to do it. And but you have to, think that through about what you want to do. But if you're coming into the market and you're doing this sort of thing, like, oh, I got some time today. I think I'll come in and I think I'll trade, the gold future. Or I think I'll trade the silver future. Or I think I'll trade Apple. Or, I'm going to throw on some options. Or, and I'm going to throw some money at this. And, oh, look at that chart. Oh, the two moving average over the eight moving average. And you're just like, oh, I'm going to throw it. Oh, ooh, I made $200. Ooh, I'm going to take the money. And you're doing that sort of thing. And then, oh, I'm going to trade at 10 o'clock at night and think it's the same market. It's a very haphazard approach, right? And when you approach anything in a haphazard fashion, that's not going to be a very good outcome. It just isn't. And you know that from whatever experience you have in life, and you all have your experiences, and you all have your careers, you all have your thing, could be whatever it is, from plumbing to HVAC, repair or installation, to a CEO, to a golfer, to a sales guy, to God knows what. If you're winging it and like, yeah, I think I'll do it this way now, you're just not going to be real successful. You're not going to be real productive. Surgeons are exactly the same way, folks, right? Surgeons, I had no experience, I had no exposure with them. I got to learn very, very quick. They are probably some of the most astute business people that you could meet, right? They, they're surgeons. They love surgery. They absolutely do. They love to do what they do, but they are also very business minded. Maybe shockingly so. It was to me early in my 20s when I was talking with him. Like, holy smokes! Like, I don't know if you know this about a surgeon, but like he'll know the demographics. Give you an idea. Within 20 miles of his office, 50 miles, 100 miles, he'll know the demographics. He'll know, he'll know so much about his community in which he's trying to serve and also trying to build the practice. And he will know, what when he does marketing and spends money on advertising, and they do, what that'll mean for him. I mean, or her, right? They're very, very astute, right? And they also love the markets too, by the way. But so if you are doing that sort of thing and just coming in and day out, and just winging it, um, you know, I just, have fun, have a good time, but just know that's not what we're doing. By the way, if you're hearing hear that noise in the background, I don't know if you can hear it. That's not my stomach. That's my boy Ted. He's dreaming about the dog park. I gotta be careful. I don't even want to say it. Next thing you know, he'll wake up and be pawing at me. So he's getting out little barks in his sleep. They also have a great life. It is a beautiful life. Um, there was a time when I had to fly around and do the hotel deal and the dinners and all that stuff and the surgery stuff and all that. And there's parts of it that I miss, but this is a beautiful life. I don't have a whole lot of paperwork. I'm not dependent on other salespeople getting their ass out of bed and going to do the job. I don't have to chase that crap down, which at one time I did, which is what I didn't like. I never liked my success riding on the backs of others. Um, you know, I just didn't. And I just wanted from the get go, I always said to Susie, I just kind of wanted to be able to do our own thing, whatever that was, and have a great life. We've had a wonderful, great life, and hopefully much more to go. But in trading is, and especially trading this way, right? I mean, I could open up a screen and I stop pointing to this and pointing to that. I mean, we do that, right? During the Q school, we do. We have to show you so much and have to, but but when we're trading day in and day out, I don't even really need to look, right? And in another profession, we have pilots, right? We have pilots. And folks that engineering backgrounds and so forth, and they bring their experience and their perspectives in, and so like having an autopilot. Everyone's talking about self-driving cars. I'm still suspect of that. I'm not sure how the American public is really ready for that sort of thing. Maybe around the edges a little, but I'm not sure about it totally being adopted. But you might have the money. Bear with me in 1 second. So you may have the money to go out and buy a small plane, right? No problem. Go buy yourself a small plane. We got an airport near us. I think I got some neighbors that like to fly, and and that plane may come equipped with some flight controls, right? It might have an autopilot. Oh, I guess it's really cool. They're really cool, like, I got myself this plane and I just take it off. I just, how hard can that be? And I just take off and then I just hit a switch and the plane starts flying itself. Ah, cool. Want to go for a ride? Hell no. Hell no. Are you out of your mind? No. You think Susan, if I had that itch to go fly, which I don't, you think she's getting in the plane with me? I mean, she's so much as nah, not a chance. No, no. Um, Now, if that person, like, if it was one of my neighbors and he, flew for the Navy or something and or Air Force and was a trained pilot, yeah, I'd probably get in the plane. I'm not crazy about heights, but I always felt a little, when I did fly, even getting on commercial jets, I always felt a sense of security seeing these guys that were probably ex-military guys. I'm not so sure about today, right? We don't do a whole lot of flying, just because we choose not to. We did way back in the day. Today, with our pups and everything, we don't. But I guess, but the point being is that flying a plane is an acquired skill set. And if you don't want to have a bad outcome, I think you might want to go through the steps of learning how to fly, right? Now, John F. Kennedy Jr. thought he could take a few shortcuts. It didn't work out too well, and so not a good idea. Other I don't think it's as dangerous as flying trading. I don't think so. You could hurt yourself though. I mean, you really could, and I don't want you to. I don't want anyone. I'm not saying that you won't have a losing trade, but I really don't want folks losing big. At some point, you'll have to make a decision Yeah, this I'm learning this and I'm moving forward or I'm not. And you may have to. Now we have a very very high retention of monthly members. We do. And we have a high retention of annual, but not, it's not like the retention of annual monthly is like 90% from one year to the next. The retention rate on our annuals is about 74, 75%. Still very high from one year to the next. We have folks who have been with us years, but it's not 90. And there could be various reasons for that. Um, and I wouldn't concern yourself with it anyways. Um, because in the end, it really doesn't matter what I do, what Susan does, what anyone else does. It only matters what you do, right? Just because, the guy you're sitting beside is smoking the golf ball down the middle of the fairway doesn't mean that you're going to do that, you know? And, so you've got to come to grips with that, right? Another analogy, too, and this is, I'm just giving you real life analogies, real life. Susan and I, we haven't been down there for a while, but back in our 20s and stuff, we'd run down to the Caribbean and stay at those resorts and stuff. And I remember one of the first times we were down there, and they had in the morning, the instructor, that would teach you how to dive. You would get a dive lesson in the hotel pool, and then in the afternoon they'd take you out on a small boat and you'd go diving. And Susan said, "You want to do that?" Hell no. No, I'm not going to do that. And why not? Because I said, well, Susie, if you want to dive, um, I tell you what we'll do. Let's just enjoy the beach, and in the afternoon, when they go diving, we'll go out on the same boat and we'll go snorkel, and we'll snorkel, and we'll watch them and see what it's about, see what we like, and then if it's something that you want to do, when we get back to Florida, we'll sign up for a certification course, a PADI certification course, and learn how to dive properly and what it's all about. Which there's a lot to that, right? Buddy diving, and there's a lot, you know. Um, and we did do that, right? And then ultimately we would go down and do some diving. Um, just a footnote on that: Susan loved it. I never really did. Um, I was okay, but I spent all my time. Susan would be off looking at this fish, looking at this shell, and she just loved it. Absolutely loved it. My eyes were glued to her constantly, constantly. I wouldn't let anyone get near her. I couldn't. I was comfortable under the water. I enjoyed it. It was very quiet. It's a very quiet endeavor, but I just was constantly watching Susan, so that if anything went wrong, I could react and be there. So I eventually had to tell her I just can't. I just couldn't relax. I couldn't. Um, and so we opted not to do it anymore after a while. There were a couple of other things too, but um, when it came to the trading, um, many of the tools that we've built, I built for Susan in the beginning. Many of the other tools have come from members, but I built them for Susan, and then set her up. But I was never really, I didn't have that kind of concern, and I have absolutely no concern. Like Susie does all her own trading, and I don't even, I don't I don't look, I don't watch. I have zero concern. Zero, so it's like a cool thing, and she trades differently than me. Her risk tolerances and different outcome, but it works. It works really well as a team that way, right? But she does her totally her own thing, and I'm totally fine with it. But that was never going to happen diving. I was never going to be like, I just couldn't. I don't, but maybe you guys are divers out there. I don't know. One of the other things about diving, though, that kind of freaked me out, we had to go back for our certification, and we had to go off of West Palm, and we had to get recertified. We had to make a 100-foot dive in open water, and then in the afternoon, and it was going to be a drift dive where they drop you off the back of the boat and you drift, and you got to get down 100 feet, and then you got to come up, and then they moved the boat, and then we were going to do a 30-foot dive in the afternoon. It was a beautiful day in West Palm, and and we were relatively new. Like this is like maybe our second year, and most after we got certified, I didn't really give this much thought, in the beginning, and most of our dives were like 25, 30 feet, maybe 40 feet, but we weren't going below 50 feet. But even still, I mean, you can drown in 10 feet if you get yourself in trouble. Excuse me. Sorry. So we had to go for this recertification, and a beautiful day. And so we're going down, right? And Susie's my buddy, and we're all dropping off the back of the boat, all excited and everything, and doing our thing. And I mean, it wasn't the Caribbean, but still pretty off in the Gulf Stream off of West Palm, and it's right off West Palm. I mean, it's 100 feet of water, but like you can still see the hotels and stuff. And off the back of this boat, and we get down about I don't know, maybe 35, 40 feet, and we suddenly lose complete visibility. There was what they call, I think they call it a thermocline climb or thermocline, and it was just we just lost all visibility. The way I can see it was like floating sand. It wasn't sand, but it was we couldn't see. So I immediately lock onto Susan. Like let's just pause a little bit. I can see her in the mask, right? It's so thick that I can't even see my feet. So I'm definitely now I'm a little, as even thinking about it, I'm a little freaked out because I don't want to lose Susan, right? And when you're in water like that, that you can't tell up from down, down from up, you can get a little case of vertigo, right? So you got to be careful. That happened in one of my other certifications thing. Um, we were doing it in the spring, and I got caught in seaweed, right? I couldn't tell. So you just got to relax, and you got to see how your bubbles are flowing, and figure out up from down. But in this case, so I latched on to Susie, and so we're going down, and I'm like, I'm looking on my eyes, and we can't talk, but so we've been together long enough, and I'm like a little bit of a concern, and so we're going down. We stay with it. We can't see any of the other divers. We can't see any of the other instructors that we're with. We can't see anybody. We can't even see the boat. Very unsettling. And then I'm watching the depth gauge, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I got to make sure I don't want to go below 100 feet, right? So we're only supposed to go 100 feet. Well, we got to about 90 feet, and then we hit bottom. So we weren't going 100 feet. We weren't going, there was no chance we were going deeper, at least where we were, because next thing you know, we're standing on the bottom. And it was like, okay, now what? Like this, I don't even like thinking about it, to be honest with you. It was unnerving, as shit when I even think back on it. So we were only there for a couple of minutes, and my breathing was probably picking up. And I just signaled to Susie, let's just bag it. Let's just go back up. So now you just can't, fill your BCD. You just can't race up, right? You can't do that or you blow your lungs up. So you gotta start going back up. And you got to pause. And I forget because we haven't been diving for years, right? We get, it was in part because of this. And as we're going up, you have to pause, pause, pause. So we get up and we can see the boat in some distance, and they circle around, and we go over, we get onto the boat. Well, the next thing you know, shit, it turned into a shit mess. There were people all over the place. We went off with maybe 12 or 15 people, 16 people. It was an even number. And they were just popping up all over the place. And then one of the instructors gets on the boat with someone else, and he's really freaking out. And there is a woman, and maybe she got separated from her husband or her significant other, and she's freaking out. She doesn't even really know where she is. She lost it. And he's trying to make some sense of her. He's like, and he's all winded, and he's very upset. And he's like, you could have killed yourself. You could have killed yourself. You can't be, just hitting your BCD. Which she panicked and she just inflated her BCD. Fortunately, he was nearby where he was trying to hold her down. But, if you've ever heard about, someone who's in water that's panicking, they'll kill you. They'll drown you. And so I'm watching this. My eyes are like, what the hell? This guy's really upset about this, obviously. And that was very unsettling to watch. The woman she wasn't even hearing a word he was saying because she was like, she had totally panicked. Thank God she wasn't near us, right? So, in any case, everybody got back to the boat. We did our dive in the afternoon, and I think they certified us and stuff. But it left us with a feeling. And then when we were driving back, at this time I think we were living in Tampa, so we're driving back. I think we stayed overnight. We're driving back the next day, and we were discussing a little bit of what happened. It was just Susie and me, and I'm thinking, Susie, we were down 100 feet. It was 100 feet of water. And I'm looking at a hotel, and I'm like, see that hotel over there, that small one, that old hotel? That's like 10 stories. We had that much water above us. Well, as soon as I did that, that was that. Not to Susan so much, it didn't, but once I understood just how much water was above us, my diving days were done. I just freaked myself out, or, I was like, nah, I'm just not ever going to do it. I was never comfortable again with it. I described that story. It's not really a great story, I guess. I don't know, but maybe some lessons in it. When it comes to trading, I've never had that, right? I've never had that. You don't have to go down 100 feet. You don't. And I strongly suggest you don't. What might that be? Well, if you've got an account and you got $100,000 in your account, I don't suggest that you margin it to 200, 300,000 and stop pushing it around. You know, that might be like taking a 100-foot dive. You don't have to do that. And I don't think you should. So, if you want to trade and you just want to snorkel, you just want to do 20 or 30 feet and just, control and manage your risk, you can certainly do that and have a wonderful experience and a wonderful career trading. You absolutely can do that. So, any case, I guess there are other endeavors like maybe jumping out of a very viable airplane. Maybe some of you guys have done that. I'm not doing that. So I'm not really, I'm not a wild-eyed risk taker. Um, but but I do enjoy uncertainty, and I do enjoy taking calculated risk, because if there's no risk, there's no reward in life for anything. So I will do that, but it's very measured, right? And in the whole development of Stock Market Caddy, I even share this, right? Because it just didn't come about, right? We didn't set out to do this, and it's we've been doing this more than 6 months, 6 years. We've been doing this for a long time now, but we didn't set out to do it. We were just setting out to manage our own risk with our own capital. Does that make sense? So, any case, any divers out there, and I'm sorry, I hope I didn't freak you out. I think diving's a great thing, and I know plenty of people that like really love it, and then they like, oh, you'll get over it, but I just couldn't. I couldn't. And and that's the other thing. We have had we did have one person in particular, and he was very, very fearful of losing money, any amount of money, and we talked about it, and he even talked to his wife about it, and it's like, why are you so afraid? We're fine. You can risk, so much. It's okay. And he just couldn't get over it. And it wasn't a fear. It wasn't, a risk concern. It was a phobia. It was a phobia. And if you have a phobia of like heights, I don't think you should try to fly a plane. Right? Why do that? I don't think you should, right? I wouldn't, you know, but you can manage your phobia around, to have a nice life and a quality of life, right? But so if you have a phobia about trading or losing a couple of bucks, then also too, trading may not be a thing. It just may not be. And if that's the case, we can't do it because we're not set up to do it, and I don't want to. But there are firms out there that will actively trade your money if that's what you want to do, and they'll do it for you. You know, and they probably probably do okay. I just choose to do it myself. That makes sense. Okay, all right. But it's an endeavor that is I don't think it's jumping out of a plane. I don't think it's diving. Maybe more like flying a plane a little bit. Might be like playing golf, a little like surgery. In surgery, if you're not a surgeon, then it could be dangerous. you know, um, it was the case where I was teaching surgeons how to work with the best and some of the most advanced instruments of the day. I was pretty good at it, right? And maybe in the beginning, in some respects, I could be better than them. But that didn't mean I was a surgeon. That didn't mean that I could do the procedure or would do the procedure. That wouldn't be a good idea, right? I just knew one small aspect of the procedures or a couple aspects and was trying to help the surgeon learn to do something to improve his surgical outcome for the benefit of his patient, benefit of him, benefit of the hospital, yada yada, that sort of thing. But I wasn't a surgeon. If you're going to do surgery, I think you best learn and become a surgeon if that's what you want to do. And if you want to trade, learn the skill. And if you're following these people on Reddit and on, Twitter or wherever, and oh yeah, this is all you do, yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. Let me know how that plays out. I'm bagging on. This is Stock Market Caddy. We're still in the same singular trade, and at about 1 o'clock, we'll have to break away. Any questions about anything, let me know. And I'm glad we did what we did, though. Like I am glad we did make a bunch of dives, and it was good. I'm glad we did it at a time. There's stages in life for doing different things, and so don't let me spook anybody away from doing it. But you can control your the depth of your trading, right? Even with margin, right? I could use a lot more, right? I can use a lot more margin, have the firepower, probably even have the skill set to do it, but I'm choose not to do it, right? Same thing, like we could have been making 100-foot dives all the time. It's like why do that? Rather not. Hope that makes sense. The amount of margin that we're using when we trade 5 micros, the overnight margin would be 15 grand. The intraday margin is a fraction of that, right? Is a fraction of that. Um, you do want to learn to use margin professionally, proportionately, and very measured, right? So again, you don't want to um, take undue risk. By the way, back to the diving thing. One of the things that we saw when we were snorkeling, we were in Jamaica, Ocho Rios and everything, which was beautiful. I don't know if I'd go back there now today. So this was a long time ago. I think it's gotten pretty dangerous. Maybe, maybe not, but at least, but a beautiful place, right? Beautiful place in the day. Probably shouldn't say. I don't know, but what we saw was we were snorkeling, and it was a snorkel boat, but they had some dives, and they went out, and I don't know if it was attached to the hotel. I guess I can't really remember, but there were kids, there were young kids that were like diving, and they had the snorkel on. They had all the gear, right? And so we're watching all this up above, and now they weren't messing with the tourists at all, but they were messing with each other, and they thought it was kind of funny. And I didn't like even watching it, and so like one of them, he went down, he snuck up, and he's like signaling to everybody who's watching, snorkeling above, and he snuck up behind um, his buddy who was diving, and he's also got a they both had regulators, and he pulled the regulator out, or he turned it off, is what he did. I mean, Jesus, I'm like, what in the world? He turned his regulator off. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just like, yeah. So, um, mm, I don't know. I remember that. I was like, oh boy. So, whenever we did go, it was always, a professional boat, pros, and count everybody that's on the boat and all that stuff. Um, and I think you just, so if a person is back to trading, you got some mad money and you got a brokerage account, and you're throwing it around and you're buying, selling and buying. Have a good time. You might do better if you go to the Indian casino and play some poker. Probably have a better time. Probably make more money. Over a period of time. Um, that is not what we're doing here. It is not. We did have, and I think this is a good thing. We had a gentleman from New York, and he was a very nice guy. He did pretty well during his Q school, and but when it was all said and done, he's like, I didn't realize it was this involved, and I don't think I want to do it. Like, okay, good investment, good investment. I mean, at least he applied himself, and he said, yeah, I don't think I want to do it. Okay, cool, good. I didn't feel bad about that. He didn't either, because I learned a lot, and but now I think he did come back around, but I think we kind of just agreed to maybe do something different. And there are a lot of different ways to make money in the markets, right? You can be trading you can be trading futures intraday like this. You could be trading options. I wouldn't trade them intraday. I'd probably trade them well, we do on a swing basis, but you're up to you. You could be selling covered calls. You could be selling covered puts. We don't usually sell covered puts. You could be doing put credit spreads versus debit spreads and all kinds of things. And you could certainly be investing, or climbing on the back of some of these stocks, and there's a whole approach for that too, right? So a lot of different ways, and we try to cover all those different ways. And you can use our tools, right? These tools are set at 1.5. Usually they're set at 1.35, but you could set them on an hourly basis. You could set them on a tick count. You could match it, as Charlie was saying. He likes to watch this and match it maybe to something else that he might be watching. No problem. That's all right. Totally all right. And to do. And we still haven't had any other. This is the only trade that we've had since 7 p.m. last night. This thing was running all night long. not one trade. Had this one trade. We had a drawdown of $155, and it looks like, I'm sorry, this has been cut off, that we had a run up of over 500. And maybe you would have taken the money at 300. Maybe you would have taken the money here. That would be up to you. We discussed that during Q School, how you can begin to manage your risk and your money and different things that you can consider. At the moment, we're not doing that. I understand from pilots, I've learned a lot from pilots, a number of things. They talk about something having a sterile cockpit too, by the way. And that is like when they get below a certain altitude as they're landing or taking off, they're not supposed to anyways be bullshitting about, their girlfriends or whatever else, or golf or something. They're supposed to be very focused on the landing and the takeoff. Entries matter, right? Entries matter. So that is a concept that I was not familiar with, called a sterile cockpit. Um, there's another. In talking with them, this is crazy. I sometimes like to listen to some of these podcasters, and they're pilots. They're for like big, big airliners. And I think I was talking is like, no matter where they are, what I understood him to say. I don't want to be speaking over my, because I'm not a pilot. But he said whether they're just taken off or whether they're over Iowa or they're over the Pacific Ocean, one of the responsibilities they have to have in the back of their mind is that if we have a problem, where are we going? Where are we putting down? You know, I guess, I mean, as we sit in the back of the plane, reading your magazine, looking out the window, I mean, you hope everything's fine and, they're doing their thing. But I guess to actually hear him say that, that they're always calculating, where we're going to put this baby down if we got to. Scary thought. Um, as traders, um, I guess we're doing that, but because we have the machinery, I'm sure to them it's just, it's no big deal, right? It's like, okay, well, if we got to go here, we got to go here. It's just that they've drilled, so many times. They drill, 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 right? And as traders, trading this way, we do too. So it's no big deal. It's no big deal. And that's where I hope you aspire to get your trading at. Because when you do, it's so liberating. And then you can actually, enjoy the flight, enjoy the craft of flying a plane, enjoy the craft of diving, enjoy the craft of, jumping out of an airplane if that's your thing, enjoy the craft of, playing golf, enjoy the craft of trading. It should be fun. It shouldn't be a source of frustration or a source of anger. If it is, I think you got to stop. I think you got to splash some water on your face. Think about what you've been doing. Think about what you're trying to do, where you want to go, and then set about doing it or not doing it. Choosing not to do something is okay. I'll be the first one. It's totally okay. Now, I had a person just send me a message. He wants to know, I don't know why I didn't reach out here, but he didn't. Um, when would Swing Machine have gone long gold and silver on a daily basis? So let's go look. 25 days ago. 25 days ago, you could have got long gold futures. That's a little more than 3 weeks, made 44 grand off of one mini. Well, we're here. Let's just look at the weekly. 99 weeks ago, November 17th of 23, that's not that long ago, 157 grand. We'll put it back to 1 minute. Let's look at silver daily. 90 days ago, 90, could have made 63 grand. There's no time stamping here. It is what it is. I mean, and let's put it on a weekly. It's going to make you puke. 82 weeks ago at 28.31, 94 grand. We were most certainly telling everybody that we're accumulating silver on a position basis at anything underneath 30. We made a video. We literally made a video. If you look on YouTube, 2 years ago, I think it's to the day, 2 years ago to the day, to start buying gold at $17.50 an ounce. Let's put this back to a 1 minute. The most valuable commodity of all. It isn't gold. It isn't silver. Don't rack your brain. I'll answer it for you. It's time. You can't make it. You can't buy it. You can't sell it. You can't trade it. But you can waste it. And I don't like to waste my time. It's a pet peeve of mine. I really don't. And but you can do it. That's okay. But you're not going to waste mine. Let's put this back, and we're rocking and rolling here. We're going to let you watch, folks. Any questions, let us know. By the way, these Q schools are limited every year. Every year we will only issue X number of Q school opportunities. Oh, yeah. Yep. Charlie, we can do it on, you just give me the stock. We love to show the baby, right? This is one of our babies. I love to show the babies. Where was I going? Oh, Q school. So we have a limited number of Q schools every year. If you go into a Q school, you're guaranteed to have a spot to become an annual member if you want to. Right? You may not want to at the end. I mean, but we have, most folks do. But every year it's a limited number. Once we hit that number, we stop, and then we restart again in January. We're very, very close, folks. We're very close. I think it's safe to say that we won't be doing any Q schools probably much after Thanksgiving. So we're that close, and it's been that way for the last 4 to 5 years. What'll happen is then we have to wait until the start of the year, and there are folks that have reserved, as first come first served, that have already reserved spots going into next year. We do this all the time. So don't wait. Don't wait. Think about what you want to do, because the last thing I would hate to think someone calls me up and says, okay, I want to do the Q school and we're starting now. We may not have a spot for you. We may not. It's just us, right? But let us know if you want. We take a look at let's do the same thing, Charlie, for the S&P. Let's do it for the VIX. Let's go to the VIX. Let's put it on a daily. The daily VIX has been short for 96 days. What does that mean? Well, if you've been shorting the market for the last 3 months, you probably had a hard way to go, unless you had some of these tools. But let's put the ES on a daily. You ready? It's long. For 100 days, 47 grand. One mini. One. They're trading thousands of these things, right? Thousands. The NQ, daily. 103 days ago, 83 grand. So what have you been doing? What are you doing? Okay? I don't like to waste time. I'm not reckless, but and you got to be ready. I mean, you know, the other part is too, right? I mean, is this you have to like to make decisions. You have to make decisions. And if you're, if you don't like to make decisions and, life is a cruise boat, okay, cool. I hope it all works out for you. Enjoy the cruise. Have a great time, because when you go on a cruise, there's no decisions to make, right? You just, I've never been on a cruise, by the way, but my family that love them. And they're beautiful, I'm sure. I'm sure they're gorgeous. The ships look beautiful. You have your cabin, you go to the pool, you go see a dinner and a show. Everything's laid out for you. Everything is laid out. You don't have to do a thing. Beautiful, great vacation. That's a vacation. This is a vocation. There's a difference. You're gonna have to make some decisions. You're gonna have to apply yourself. I don't want anyone thinking that, this is, oh, if I subscribe and I'm going to just not have to do a thing and he's going to automatically put that money in my account. No, that would be the wrong conclusion. Don't work that way. Nothing does. Enjoy, everybody. We're going to let you watch. Now, one of the other biggest challenges, right? So I'm not sure I'm doing everybody a service here, but we can only describe this for new traders, right? Sometimes you have to learn how to win. Actually, learn. And you have to do this, right? So I'm here all day, every day, because this is what I do, and I've done this over and over and over again. But it might be, if this was your first trade, right? And you've been, I've sometimes, not many, but I have had some people that have come to me and said, Don, I always lose. I always lose. I always lose. And my first thing I say is like, hey, Scott, VIX is oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott. Good to see you. Scott is one of our annual members, and I left it on a daily. Sorry about that, Scott. Thank you. um, and it wasn't Scott, too, by the way. It wasn't Scott. To the contrary. And I've had folks say like, I always lose. I always lose, Don. I always lose. I'm like, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Listen to what you're saying. Do you really talk to yourself that way? Now, it's not enough just to be positive and I'm not suggesting that. I'm not naive. But I got to tell you something, kids. The mind is an incredibly powerful thing. Be very, very careful how you talk to yourself, right? I don't care if it's trading or anything. Be very, very careful. Um, I'm not a Pollyanna. I understand, but be very careful, because you can bring about what you think about, and sometimes you don't want to do that. Um, so one of the things that we will have folks do that are of that mindset, they may have to come in here on a Monday, trade their 5 micros, make their 600 or 700 bucks, and then go find something else to do for the rest of the damn week. Go find something else to do. I'm not saying telling you to do that, but you can understand where I'm going. And then the next week, come in and do it again. And maybe you got to work until Tuesday, and you make your 600 or 700 bucks, and then guess what? You got to go find something else to do. Okay. Um, Whatever it is, stock market caddy is that something else for me, right? Because we do practice that, from a trading standpoint, right? You can't get it all. Just because you have your day blocked off and you have your week blocked off, it may not be the best thing to trade all day. I don't think it is all day, every day, all week, right? And you've got to set up a construct where you quit when you're ahead. You can't do that at a casino, but you can do it here if you understand the exercise. Because or I started to go about the Holy Grail, and I got sidetracked. The Holy Grail of trading is you. It's you. It's what you're looking at in the mirror every day. It's you. Okay. Sorry. you know I mean, not sorry, but and I even said it to Susie in a you know in a in the nicest way I could, right? Of course, right? We've been together since we were 17. No, Susie was 18. I was 17. I was younger. Just a tad, just a tad. But I said to Susie, is like, Susan, if you don't take hold of your trading and do your trading, then I don't need you trading. Why? I just do it, right? I'm just gonna have to trade for me, and I'm gonna have to trade your accounts. Which means I'm gonna have to work that much harder, that much longer, and ba ba ba. But and otherwise, you got to do it. And that's just the way it is. So in any case, but that all is a side story, because in the beginning, like Susan said, oh, I know what we're gonna do, Don. You're gonna pick the trades, and then I'll just take them off. Like, huh? Why would we want to do that? Well, because So she was putting all the burden on me, and then I'd put on a trade, and I'd want to, sit on it for a while, like this one here, and I would have put it on, and then she'd come in and like make $200. I'm like, oh, okay. Now go find me another one. Go find me. You know, like what? You know, I'm like, nah. So we tried a number of different things, and all those things weren't going to work. You can't play golf with one hand on the club and somebody else has another hand on the club. It don't work. It'll be pretty ugly. You gotta play your own game. You gotta learn the game and then you gotta go out there and play it. And I can't play it for you. You know, the caddy can't. Caddy's just a caddy. He's like, you're this far away from the pin. These are the tools. This is where you can help around the edges, but you got to hit the shot. Make sense? All right. Good to see you, Scott. I hope you're doing well. And we're going to be tracking this. This is a beta strategy, Scott. That we'll see. We'll that we kind of dusted off over the weekend and brought it to the fore here. And I like what it's doing, and I like the fact that it sat out all last night. And I like what it's doing thus far. So we'll see. We'll keep you posted. We keep everybody. We have a library of tools, and then we also have beta tools. These are tools that we're working on or in some stage of development. And if a member sees something and says, hey, if you got a beta you're working on and showing some promise, I'd like to see it. We'll get it to them. But it's still pretty early in the week, Scott. So we'll keep you posted. All right, we'll be here. Just to give everybody just a quick glimpse of some other things, right? We have now. I have this written up like with Zoom writing on it, so we kind of dress up the image. Not trying to hide anything, but just trying to dress it up. But we have other tools, but the Zoom writing is going to be here. So let me just show you, for instance, this is the options club selector. Let's click on that. Bear with me here. And so this radar is blue for stock, and this is SMC options defined risk club selector. And so you can come here and this will sort real time all the stocks. Scroll down, try to show you all the stocks that you should be looking at for long positions. They're always defined risk, calls, put credit spreads, which is our favorite thing to do. It could be a debit spread. Now, where exactly you place it and how much, is still within your skill set, but this is where we get them. And then from here, we might look at them on a chart. What we don't do is go to the chart first and then go to the option chain. We come here first, then grab these symbols, and we may put these symbols into a swing machine on an hourly basis. And then when they trip off, we'll go get options on them. Make sense? And then on the short side, got a ton of them over here. And let's see if I don't want to mess this up. So we got these trades here that are in Euphoria. Quite a few of them. These are the ones that are likely to come in. Then if you know how to do iron conduits, these are the stocks that represent the best iron conduit candidates. There's quite a few of them. Then we have another tool that we used to use before Swing Machine. It's called the Pebble Beach. And this one I'm particularly like. This is a what's stock? Oh, this is Newell down here at $5 a share. Um, Rubbermaid. That's what that is. So here are all the stocks. They're supposed to be sorting. I've kicked out the sort out of whack here, but let me just show you. There's only about 23 or 24 signals, and they're all today. These are signals for today, and every single one of them is in the green, long and short. And this is where we would get them. So, for instance, like we're looking at, let's look at Iron Mountain. Yeah, that don't look good. So, to my eye, just looking at that, like, okay, Iron Mountain at 100. Now, I'd want to check and make sure she don't have earnings. How might I do it? Well, I could certainly short shares, but I don't like to do that. What I might do is come up here at 102 and sell a call at 102 and buy a call at 105, something like that, for 35 days and just let the thing soak. Um, how about here's FCX, who's been trash, Freeport McMoran, and let me look at that just quickly. So this looks intriguing. It does look like it's going to bounce. Looks like it's been fleshed out. Am I going to go buy shares at 37? Probably not. Probably not. If I did buy the shares at 37, I would probably turn around and sell calls like at 41 or something against it. What I might rather do is come down here now that she's bottomed down around here, which would be around 34.50 or so, and do what? Sell a put. And then do what? Buy a put a few bucks lower and do a put credit spread for 35 days. Do something like that. Now, if that all sounds foreign to you, then you need to learn. That's all. You need to learn. And because you want to be diversified. Oh, Abby. You want to be diversified. Abby, it's okay. Oh, somebody at our door. Bear with me a minute. Okay, sorry about that and the noise. Um, Abby, hell of a watchdog. So you could do that sort of thing, right? But you want to be diversified, not just in what you hold, but you want to be diversified in what you can do, right? So I do think you should make investments. I think you should know how to make investments. I do think you should own stock for investments. I do. I think you should be able to trade options. Absolutely. But I also think you should be able to trade futures. Forex, I don't know. I don't have any experience trading Forex. There's some reasons for that, but you could. I wouldn't have a problem with it. Crypto, um, you know, I mean, you could, so it's just crypto is just another asset. Whether or not it has any value or not is another thing, but you know what? It doesn't matter in the scheme of things. Um, but let's see what else we got here. Um, Disney's generating a buy. Let's go look at that. So I'd have to hold my nose on that. So I probably wouldn't buy it at 114. I might sell a put at 112 and buy a put at 110 or 108. Put credit spread. Um, Goog is generating a sell. Oh, that don't look good to me. That doesn't. So that looks really, really enticing. As long as they don't have any earnings, that is a fade. That is a short. Am I going to short it at 246? 100 shares would be, 24, 25 grand. 1,000 shares is 250 grand. Am I going to do that? No. No, I'm not going to do that. But what I might do is I might sell a call at 250. Yeah, I might do that. And then buy a call up around 255, do a call credit spread for 35, 40 days and let the bitch come down. And maybe she's going to go after this, this down in here. Now, do I get all that? No, no. But I'm playing the probabilities. But you could copy this list and here and even do some other things with it. As an example, let's see what else we got. A number of things that, when you join as a monthly member, we'll give you the Cook's Tour. So there's a lot of different things here. Here is a consolidated view of daily, weekly, monthly. Here's the VIX. This is what you've been fighting against. This is what they got targeted, folks. It isn't so much they're targeting the S&P to enrich themselves. They're targeting the volatility to keep you focused on playing fantasy football, and not focused on them or fighting each other in the street over God knows what. But just don't focus on them. The powered money class, right? If we're fighting with each other, they're okay with that. If you're playing fantasy football, they're okay with that. If you're doing, just don't pay attention to what the hell they're doing because they're ripping us off, and they've been doing that for decades or centuries. But here's the Russell on a daily basis, 97, 13 weeks ago. So the daily you would have actually have done better, but here's the monthly. But let's go to the ES. 100 days ago, 19 weeks ago, or how about the monthly? 178 months ago, folks. This was back in December of 2010. So the monthly investor, he's not only is he not paying attention to what we're doing intraday, he shouldn't be. How can I say that? Because nor are we. With our investments, the day-to-day, the intraday is just noise. The day-to-day is just noise. If you are an investor, a monthly perspective. But, if you got on there back on 2010 and you came out 2 months later, well, you left a lot of money on the table and you're still waiting for another signal. And that could be years away. So you've got to define how you want to play with what capital. And just because you have the capital, just because now you have the time, just because now you want to play, doesn't mean that you're going to get the opportunity. It may take years to set up. And I'm sorry, kids, but, Bag has been playing this game before we had a complete furniture set. That is that's the truth. Susan said to me, Donnie, what in the hell are you doing, kid? We're down in Miami. You got a 1-bedroom apartment in Miami for $195 a month. It was expensive. $195. After a few months, we graduated to a 2-bedroom apartment for $210. That same 1-bedroom apartment in Miami cost $2,100 a month. We got it for $195. It wasn't even completely furnished. I had a bedroom set and a dinette set. I had the priorities right, and I started opening up IRA accounts. This is like, Don, what's an IRA account? What are you doing? Don, we don't even have a TV. We didn't even have a TV. There was no internet, but we didn't even have a TV. We didn't even have credit. They didn't give you credit cards back then. We had to go out and this is old school stuff, but I'm like, how do we get a credit card? Well, we don't have credit. Well, you got to earn credit. Well, how the hell do I get credit? Well, you got to go buy something and pay for it on time. Oh, okay, let's go get a bedroom set. And I had to have a family member, namely my brother, had to co-sign. And he read me the riot act. You better make good on this, brother. I'll be good. and we had to pay over time so that we could establish credit. Today, for God's sakes, they give you credit. They give you credit just to, no cell phones, no. There was no, oh, what the hell you call it? Voicemail. There was no voice, no voicemail. Remember you used to have to call in like a 1-800 number, like for voicemail for work and stuff. There was none of that stuff either, right? We got a lot done. When you think about it. Um, and we had a hell of a lot more free time back then than we do today for the young people. And but that's when we started, right? That's when we started, and but that's okay. I mean, but the important piece is, whoops, bear with me. I hate this new Microsoft thing. I don't like see over here. They used to have a clock here. Does anybody know where you find the new clock on Windows 11? I think it's Windows 11, right? They don't have the clock anymore. I used to like to just leave the timer up. Hey, Ted, relax, relax. He's pulling my arm here. Um, so let me slide back over. The important piece is to start. Whatever it is you're doing, right? Just start. Just start it. Whatever it is, you know. You want to run a food truck or something? Okay, just get started. Start it. Do something. Maybe go to work for somebody on a food truck and learn the business a little bit. Start moving in the direction that you want to go. Don't wait for everything to be handed to you or perfect. And I say that we're still developing stuff. We still we have so much more than what we had a year ago or 2 years ago. We still have so much more that we're working on. It's never ending. That's also what's kind of fun about this. If you like that, right? But yeah, it is kind of fun looking back. I had to look up the apartment complex. It's still there down in Miami, and I'm like, holy smokes! The same one bedroom, Susie, is $2,100. So for a young couple, that would be um, what $25,000 for a one bedroom apartment in Miami, and not on the ocean. This was like way back. This is off um, was the Palmetto and the East West Expressway. Still there. And a two bedroom. We just did it for room. Somebody was visiting, Susan's mom or something, and that same thing is now like, I don't know, like 2,800 or something. I don't know how young people. I guess they got to pile in. I have 10 people in there. Um, and that goes down the road about household formation and everything get installed. And at some point there's going to be a breaking point. There will be an economic breaking point. The household formation that we're talking, I was seeing this, and I believe it to be the case that, not that long ago, maybe a couple of decades ago, that, the average, new home buyer was like 26 years old, 25. I think that's how old we were when we bought our first home, about 25. Today it's 38. That's big difference there. And that's not good. That is not good. And they've sold all these young folks, these. I hope within the sound of my voice you're not into this, but that the so-called free college education, that everyone's got to get one of these free college educations. The only problem is it isn't free, and you get saddled with $200,000-300,000 in debt coming out. That is a ripoff. I'm just telling you. I, I I mean, I'm glad I got the degree that I got. I'm glad I got the education I got. But there wouldn't have been a snowball in a house chance that I would give these people 250 grand for that. You know, I don't, even if I was going to be a surgeon, I'd be like, well, and those guys got to go to school for 10 years. The math doesn't work. So, but in any case, I hope everyone's thought that through, think it through. And so you think about, back then, no cell, from a trading standpoint, um, in the 90s, I won't say who the brokerage was, but for me to move shares in and out cost $300. $300 a trade, in and out. So it wasn't very conducive for intraday, right? And I would trade large blocks because of that. It was $300. And then this little discount brokerage came out of the ground, and they were doing it for 89. In the big house, I'm like, hey, I'm getting ripped off here. Okay, all right, we'll cut it down to 150. Oh, okay, thanks, really great. And they both sucked. I'm not saying who they are, but they sucked. And I was doing it myself anyways, and I had to pay them. And they would flag their damn tickets. I'd see it on my brokerage statements, like it was not their idea, that it was like my idea. I'm like, yeah. Finally, um, I realized what was going on. So I mean, I fired all those people around 2001. I was completely free of them all. Just got rid of them all. Um, Still need the services, and but in any case, uh, and today for the young people, um, I AI. I mean, AI. I mean, AI is real. There's no question about it. It's real. I think it's going to be. I do think it's going to be much more impactful than the internet itself, and much more impactful than social media. I think it's going to be a good thing for those that are pushing the envelope of their own skill set, pushing the envelope of what it is they're doing, and learning to use AI to do even more. But the masses, it isn't going to be good. It isn't going to be good. I don't think so. Mm-mm. I said when I couldn't bring myself to understand, when I think back, like on Amazon. Amazon was doing its thing, and and I've owned Amazon in and out, traded it for sure. But I could never. I'm like, there's no way that model's going to be successful. Now Amazon went to like $1,000 a share, and then came all the way back down to like two or $3 a share, and then went on again, and split adjusted and just kept on going. But I said, if you really stopped and thought about what Amazon was doing. Now, I was saying this in the late 90s. I was saying it to Susie, and we didn't have Stock Market Caddy. But anybody I was talking to about this, which was namely other surgeons and stuff, I'm like, this is not going to be good, because it's going to destroy the retail sector. If it's successful, it will destroy the retail sector, and it will destroy the malls. What has it done? I guess the retail sector is still out there a little bit, but it certainly has destroyed the malls, right? And people at the time are like, oh, there'll always be malls. The women want to go and shop and Christmas. No, yeah, they don't. They're done. They're done. And that doorbell that just rang is just like your neighborhood. Everyone's, they're done. It is over. All those jobs, all those businesses, right? I always thought it would have been a great business, to have a business, inside of a mall, and you got a captive audience. Everyone's coming in. They're dead. They are dead. At least here in Florida. There's a few, but for the most part, they're all dead. Gone. Blew them up. And they're going to blow up other things. I think AI is going to be a huge disruptor. I mean, you're reading about it, you're hearing about it, and I do think so. I just saw a tweet from DeSantis, Governor DeSantis. I just saw a tweet, and they were talking about, he was, I guess, I don't know, he's probably got a staffer doing this, but they were talking about the length of going to law school being 3 years. And he just tweeted out and says he thinks that's a joke. Now he's a lawyer, right? He's a Navy JAG. Said it should be 2 years. It's probably going to be a year. I mean, just use AI. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That. You know, um, I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be crazy, isn't it? Um, but you got to know how to use it. Garbage in, garbage out, like everything. But I think it's going to be a positive, but it's going to be very, very disruptive. And I think it's just starting. So, any questions on who we are, what we're about? Don't hesitate. If you want us to plug in any market or any stock symbol into Swing Machine, we love to showcase the babies, right? So we got a bunch of babies. We have probably close to 65 to 70 thereabouts programs. Many of these programs are from Susan and I, but probably as many have come from our members over the years that have asked us to do this, that, and the other thing, and from all different sources. And we can originally code them and write them, and some are in beta form, some aren't. And they go into a library, and our annual members get to pick and choose what they want to use. Now, I do say this with everybody: don't throw anything away. Don't throw any concept away. Don't ever throw anything away, because these programs, just to set one's expectations, whether they're ours or something else, they will come in and out of favor as the market changes and flexes. So you don't ever want to get into a mindset that, you know, maybe not with us, but maybe you did it with something else from someone else, and and it was doing great, and then it wasn't, and then you're like, oh, that sucked. I ain't gonna use it. You know what? A couple months later, it could be doing great. But if you didn't learn how to use the tool and didn't know under what conditions in which it will do best, now then you're going to be in the dark. You're going to be just always feeling your way around in the dark. The way we build these things, and we're doing it now ourselves, is and AI itself is built this way. We filter, 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 right? You know, if this, if that, then this, then that, and we can build very, I don't want to say complex, because we're not trying to build something that's complex just for complexity's sake, but it it how do I put this? I would say sophisticated, right? Sophisticated filtering, and you can do that. So, for instance, like even here on Swing Machine, we this can be traded. You could trade the 1 minute just on its own, and the machine would have gone in 9 minutes ago, and you'd have $140 in your account. You could have traded the 5 minute 28 minutes ago, and you'd have $1,000 in your account, and it could have done it automatically. We could also trade the 1 minute in the direction of the five, meaning we could have the 1 minute going in and out based on what the 5 minute is doing, or what the 5 minute and the 10 minute is doing. We can begin to layer things. We could trade, multiple time frames based on what the VIX is doing. You're like, hey, wait a minute, Don, the VIX went long at 925, so I only want to take the shorts. We can do that too, and do it algorithmically. That's what you're up against. That's what you're up against. If you're at home, sitting in front of a screen, moving the mouse around and looking at the two moving average over the eight, you know, that's what you're up against. That sort of thing. It's incredible what we can do. We can do it really effectively with futures because they're highly liquid. We have great market access. They're extremely efficient, capital efficient. They're very tax friendly, and of course they're leveraged. We can do the similar thing with options, but we choose not to do them intraday because they're not as liquid and they're a little bit bulky. Right, right. If you're trading something actively and you miss, the entry by a tick, and it costs you $12.50 on a mini contract, on a mini on the ES, each tick is 12.50. Okay, but if put a trade on an option on Chipotle Mexican Grill, and you put in a market order, and as soon as you put it in, you're down $300. Well, that's going to get pretty expensive. You know, you're not going to be able to do many of those. You know, yeah, I mean, you're getting glommed. You're getting ripped. They still have a place. They still have a place. You know, but just not maybe that active. Make sense? All right. So again, anybody want us to plug anything in? If you got any questions about markets, about trading, this is why we do what we do. I'm not here to try to hand out the fish. And I said we would stop at once. We'll definitely have to stop at two because I got to get focused. But I'm happy to answer any question about trading, about, here's your, we do this to hopefully inspire and hopefully to answer some questions. You want to be tracking your profit factor, right? You want to be tracking your profit factor. This is the first trade. We turned this on at 7 p.m. last night. It went all night long, not a single trade. We weren't trading Swing Machine, we were trading this program, or this description here. It's on another view. And then it went in. This was the very first trade it went in. It had a drawdown, as you can see up there, of 155, and it had a run up, looks like as much as 700. This one. If you chose to come in as the trader and you said, hey, I'm taking the $500 done, and I'm going to go sit by the pool the rest of the day, good. Go sit by the pool, read a book, play with the kids, have a good life. And tomorrow or tonight, you want to turn it back on, or you want to turn it back on, tomorrow, maybe you make another 500, maybe you make 1,000, maybe you lose 200. But at the end of the week, or maybe you just say, you know what, I made my 500, and I'm not going to do anything the rest of the week, and I'm going to do this for 3 months, and I'm going to try to make $500 a week. Maybe next week you got to work 2 days to get it, and then at the end of 3 months you'd have, maybe an extra 10 or 12 grand in your pocket, and then you will have learned a lot, and you would have learned to be patient and disciplined, that sort of thing. But if you don't want the juice. For all those gamblers out there, you know what the juice is. They want to do the Davey Day trader thing. I'm going to put $10 million down on Tesla. Okay. I guess he's got it to lose, and he will lose it. But, that's a gambler, and they like the juice. Right? We're not doing that. We're not. This is not what we're doing. Don't think of it that way. I wouldn't. I'll let you watch. Thanks for listening. And again, we like to show things off. So if there's any stock you want to see, let me just think of one. Maybe about Apple. I have no idea where even Apple is. Let's put Apple in here. We'll plug it in here. AAPL. All right. So let's not look at Apple on a 1 minute. We're not going to trade Apple on a minute time frame, right? Not going to do that. But maybe we might want to trade Apple on a 60 minutes. Let's go look. All right. 60-minute Apple. 77 hours ago, back on September 12th, Swing Machine went long at 233.78. That's what that means. At 330. It's up 8.4% between the entry price and where it is now. Shows $19. That's because it's one share, right? We can change this and put it into a block of money for stocks, but that's what that means, 19 points. 19's, the difference. So what if that was 77 hours ago, what if you bought a call option at 233? You get 20 points. How much you make? Well, I don't know what the expiration is, but that would have worked. It's dipping now, by the way. It's dipping, so you probably would have had more. What's Apple on a daily time frame? Don, I don't want to trade that fast. I just want daily setups. All right, let's go look at the daily. 38 days ago. 38 days ago, when everyone was probably selling Apple, Swing Machine was buying it. At what price? 213.25. It's delivered 40 points in 38 days. So if you had bought a call option for 45 days, yeah, you're up about 4 or 5 grand. But you know what? If you want to go to a chart and look at the 2 over the 8 and, in this indicator and that indicator and doing all that, have at it. Have at it. Just don't get vertigo. So we'll put this back to the ES as an example. But I'm happy while I'm here. If you got a stock and you say, well, what about this stock? What about that stock? I'll plug them in and it'll be what it'll be. So if anybody thinks I just sandbagged you on Apple, I didn't. I had honestly, 100. But you go ahead and give me the stock, and I'll plug it in right here where we're on delay. I can't rig it, can't jury rig it. I don't know what stock you're going to give me, but I'm inviting you to do it if you want. Sorry about that. I'm not sure. I lost track of the mic. I don't know if you heard me talking about Apple. I think you did. What I was just showing was Apple. I think the mic was on. And then I inadvertently, I meant to turn it off so you didn't hear me take a swig of my coffee. So sorry about that. I didn't mean to gross anybody out. Um, so what I was saying is though, if you think I was sandbagging with Apple, if you have a stock in mind and you want me to plug it in, we can do that and we can look at it and I'm happy to do it. Right. So sorry about that. By the way, another metric on housing, which I think is breathtaking, and I think this was the case for us pretty much. Housing back years ago was running like at 3 times income, 3 times income. Today, an average house is running like at 7 times income. Man, That's way, that's just that's a struggle, for folks, especially, starting out. So you got housing running, or a house running at 7 times income. You got all this educational debt shit that they choked on to everybody saying it was free. They're gonna be pissed. I'm sure they are now. I'm sure that's part of this, right? And especially if they don't understand, who, who did this to them, and who did it to them is actually, in my view, the universities that have socked up all this money and then filled their heads full of hateful crap, you know, and it's them, and a very, very bad concoction, you know. And I've said this, before. I was saying this for years and years, that the universities are the madrasas of the left, and I think that's proved out. And so not only are they getting a poor education, they're getting brainwashed on a whole lot of stuff without going into it. But then they're also having to pay for it with their life on it, and then they're angry. Not about what they did. They're not angry at the university. They're not angry with them, And they just got and they're just angry, and they don't even know why. They're just angry because they can't get what they want, and it is what it is, and we're all stuck with it, because we're all on this ride together. But for those that want to learn to trade their game and in the privacy of their own home or office, and just close all that out, and just do their thing, and fire your get rid of your, maybe use these tools to oversee or overlook the shoulder of your broker or your broker, or ultimately just fire their ass. Good luck. At 2 o'clock, if there's no other questions, we will need to turn down. I'm going to wish everyone the best. We'll try to be back up periodically during the week. This is the busiest time of the year for us. Not just the fall, but all winter, right? All winter, right up until next summer. It's going to be a great winter season. The volatility is already picking up, and it's a great, great time to be trading. I just want to say thank you for everyone coming by. So I'm not going to say anything further unless there's any other questions. And at 2 o'clock, we're going to need our resources. So we'll say goodbye and say thank you for stopping by. Scott, reach out anytime you need anything. And thanks. Okay, folks, this was trade number one, and we're still riding it. We're going to let the machine handle it from here. I just want to say thank you for everybody that came by and for the questions. And we need the resources. Feel free to reach out. Um, as a new monthly member, you get a 1 day tour. You get to see all the algos every night, and to help you with your swing trading. You also get a 1 day tour. We'll connect you, let us know. We'll give you a tour of a lot of things early one morning and then let you hang out on a live Zoom feed for the rest of the day. If you want to trade intraday and you want to build your own alerts and you do your own thing, beautiful, beautiful. But for us, you would need to have a TradeStation. You would need to go through the Q school. We slow it down. You got to do it once, just once. And then if you still want to go forward and become an annual member, you got a reserve spot. That's it. Your costs are fixed too, by the way. Um, we don't hit people with price increases. When you join, those are your costs. They're fixed. So the philosophy is, unlike maybe a lot of other businesses, your costs are fixed, and we just try to keep adding more and more value. It works. Have fun, everyone.